Give us an example of some suffering you're witnessing, other than a physical ailment if you can. Because that will take us down another wild goose chase that we don't have time to unravel.
So what I'm witnessing in particular with my wife is she's got a vision of a future that no longer is there for her. And it's caused her to try and commit suicide 3 times in the last 3 months.
That was big. So say it to us again.
So because there's this vision of a future that I no longer will be in with her regarding this religion, it's caused her to essentially give up on life. I don't need to live anymore because this future with which I wanted is no longer here, and I wanted it with you. Therefore, I'm going to now.
The reason that we're backing up to take another run at this is because that is so big and so close to you and matters so much to you that we want to say to you, meditation is the only path to your finding alignment with something that you could say to her that would help her. So let's just assume, for the sake of brevity here, that you've come into alignment, that you have consistently meditated, that you've felt your alignment, and that there you are in your full knowing. And now, like the impulsive hen or rooster, you know what to do because you're tapped in. You've practiced that tuning. And so you're there in this moment. And because you're there, because your desire is so strong, and because your inner being acknowledges all of that, and because you're in alignment, now you have timing. And so your timing takes you into a conversation where she's more receptive than usual. Not a lot more, just more receptive than usual. And you're tuned in to the pure love that she seeks through that religion. It's not just an idea, and it's not just a legend of long ago times. It's active within you right now. Everything that she was looking for from that religion is active within you right now. And because you're so well connected, the words don't come to you like, see, I'm still there. No words come to you that would be off-putting to her or that would make her feel defensive. The only thing that comes through you is this love, which is present. Our friend said, how will my connection manifest? Sometimes just in a gaze through your eyes. Sometimes just in the gentle touch of your flesh upon her flesh. Sometimes just through an impulse, through a sigh, through a movement, sometimes through a word. But you are radiating your emotional state of being to her, and because you're in a place of pure positive energy, you're offering her love, which she may or may not be in a place of receiving, but she sure does want it. And if your timing is as good as we believe it's going to be, she might catch just a little glimpse of your love, and she will feel more reassured that all is well. But if instead you're saying, that religion wasn't good for me and I had to walk away from it, that makes her defensive. Instead, what you're meaning is, that religion was so good for me. And not that it was the first step and many other steps came after it. There is so much about that that is so good. That's what you're feeling. That's what you're meaning. That's what you're knowing. So you're not evoking defensiveness within her. In other words, you're evoking resonance with yourself and with your source and with her source and maybe even a little bit with her. So she's not feeling apart. She's feeling reassured. She's not feeling afraid. And right now she doesn't feel like she's lost you, because you could not be more present with her than right now, hooked to her inner being and hooked to your inner being and flowing it all right toward her. She cannot feel loneliness under those conditions. You see? And then you do it again and again and again and again. And after a little while, you're able to maybe build some bridges. But you see, Source doesn't assign itself to a religion. And yet Every religion says we are the truth that has the source, and none of you do. And so, what is the most predominant war or battle on your planet? Religious wars. All of you fighting over God and source energy flowing to each and every one of you, no matter what, no matter what. Don't you think it's interesting how people get themselves in a position where they've decided that truth can only come from this, and if you're over there, then you can't be true unless you're over there tuned in to source and demonstrating it all over the place. When Esther was born into this world, she was born into a Mormon town, to a mother who was Mormon.
That's what I was.
And we know. And Esther's father was not Mormon. They met outside of that environment. He was Lutheran. The Mormons teach that only they are going to heaven. And Esther looked at her father, who was the nicest man in town, who cared the most about the people in town, who was pure positive energy in everything she witnessed about him. And she knew for sure the Mormons were wrong. She knew for sure. Life showed it to her when she was a little girl, that this man was not going to be deprived of heaven because he was not part of whatever that was. So she got a really good understanding at a really good age. Her own little pure heart told her all she needed to know. Don't tell me that my daddy's not going to heaven. I know him. You see. So that's sort of what it takes. And it also put her in a position where she didn't accept anything that had already been decided as the way she would be guided. Somehow, in that early experience, it set her up to somehow know that there certainly was a whole lot that those people didn't know, while there was a whole lot about them that she really loved. They were really a nice bunch of people. You see what we're getting at? It's just that when anybody tells you that the only way that you can get what you're looking for is through this one narrow vantage point, you got to be a little suspect as you look at well-being in so many other places. Every time you meet someone who's thriving and feeling good and offering value, did you say, you must be faking it. You're not Mormon. And so we know you get that. Our strongest encouragement to you is not to push against any of that. Don't push against any of that. Just know what you know and let what that bouncing off place was serve you in the way that it can. And be as easy about it as you can. You're sort of in the pressure cooker a little bit because you've got someone that you care about who is frankly just throwing a little fit, wanting to control your behavior. It's their last ditch effort. How can I get your attention? How can I get your attention and make you do what I need you to do in order to get the conditions in the place that I think they need to be? There have been a few people, not many, who have sat in the hot seat and who have said to us that they had decided that they were going to make their transition. They just had it. And they had all these reasons for leaving. And they were so surprised when we said, we think it's a good idea. Because we know there's no death, and we know you'll find great relief, and not one of them did it. Because they weren't really intent on doing that. They were just wanting to get something from us in the process. You see what we're getting at? And we're not saying that she's making it up. We're just saying that you can't think for another. You can only offer your vibration in the powerful way that you do. And when you care about someone, and you do, and you find vibrational alignment with the solution. And you've done that here today. Now, whether you can maintain it for a long period of time, it depends on how much you practice that, you see. But isn't the whole world, aren't so many people running around and saying, this condition makes me happy and this condition doesn't. And I need you to help me with this condition so that I can look at this condition and feel good. And then when you say, no, I'm choosing over there, don't they pull out all the stops in order to get you to, because people have come to believe that The condition has to be just right in order for them to feel good. And there isn't anything more detrimental to someone's belief than that. Because that means, first I got to get everything that is all in perfect order before I can create something else that is good. And everything that is already done. There's a whole new fresh stuff that you're in the process of creating. Here's our best story about that. Jerry and Esther were driving in Orlando. Esther was driving. Jerry's the navigator, Esther's driving. But now there's a new navigational device, which is sort of taking Jerry's place a little bit. And Jerry didn't go down easily either. He liked his maps. And so when Esther became a religious fanatic to follow the guidance that was coming through the navigational system, he quite often took issue with it. And in those early days, the navigational system sometimes led them on wild goose chases too. And they knew that when they were in an area where they knew where they were, because the navigational system was awkward at best in those early days. So one day, they're driving, Esther's driving, and Jerry looks up and he's smiling and he said, "You do know that you're going in exactly the opposite direction that we need to be going." And Esther was defensive. She was defending her new religion. She said, "No, I'm doing exactly what she's telling me to do." And Jerry said, "All right, I just think you should know you're going in exactly the opposite direction of where we're going." And so she looked at the compass on the car. She knew essentially where the city they were going to was, and she had to agree that he had a point. So she reluctantly followed his guidance to get turned around and going in the right direction. But this is the part we really want you to hear. She said, "Hey, I've got a really good idea." Because she wasn't going to give up easily. "Let's go back to where we started and put in the navigational information again. And then we will watch what she tells us to do so that we will know where it went wrong." And Jerry said, "Or we could just start where we are and go where we want to go." So you get what we're getting at. Religion doesn't let you start where you are and go where you want to go. It wants to take you back through all of the justification. And that's why it's so cumbersome, and that's why it moves so slow, and that's why people are so frustrated, and that's why religion is the beginning and the middle and the end and the perpetuation of the greatest reign of hate that has ever been on this planet before. Because people are disconnected from who they really are, from their own knowing, from their own path, you see. We don't want to join you, or we don't want anyone to join anyone in a war against religion. We just want you to understand that it was there when you needed it, and now you have personal connection to guidance. You always did. That's how every religion got started. Someone saw something, they got tuned into the solution, they began expressing about the solution, and off they went. But then after the fact, and all the time later, it gets messy, unnecessarily.